welcome to Newsclick. We have seen in last few days that in Delhi there has been a turmoil which has been created. AAP government and the Lieutenant Governor are in clash with each other. A series of appointments have been made and rejected. To discuss the issue, we have with us Shankar Raghuraman, who is an assistant executive editor with Times of India and also a political commentator. Hello Shankar.
Hi.
We have seen in last few days there were various appointments that had been made. There has been a question of who has the constitutional right to do it. The governor has the right to intervene in state matters of the state directly, or is it something else?
See, as far as the constitutional question is concerned, clearly lawyers are better placed to answer the question than a journalist like me would be. But there are several senior constitutional lawyers, people like Rajiv Dhawan, KTS Tulsi. Now, some of them you might say are aligned with AAP, but others are not. They are independent lawyers of considerable repute, and many of them have come out in the open publicly taking the stand that the Lieutenant Governor is in a legally untenable position on this issue. But I think the far more important question is not a legal narrowly defined legal constitutional position, but the spirit of the thing. After all, if you have a government in Delhi, you have a legislature in Delhi, for what purpose do they exist if every little thing that they do is subject to overruling by the Lieutenant Governor? I think that is the more important question.
When you talk about a legislative assembly that is there in Delhi, it has 70 elected representatives. So, is it also an attack on autonomy of these structures and direct intervention by the central government, and the way we have seen that this government has, the government at the center has been trying to bring various policies called cooperative federalism and all that. So, can you find a link between these two?
Well, it is quite clear that the Modi government slogan of cooperative federalism is an empty slogan. I mean, Delhi illustrates it better than any other thing could have. It is precisely for reasons of this kind that various parties at various points in time have raised the demand for full statehood for Delhi. The BJP itself, in several of its earlier manifestos, had raised that demand. At that point, of course, there was a centre in which the Congress was in power, and therefore the BJP probably wanted some autonomy for any possible state government that it would form in Delhi. But now that it has got a majority of its own in the centre, it has decided that statehood for Delhi is not such a great idea. So, it has done a flip-flop. AAP, of course, in its manifesto had raised the demand for full statehood for Delhi. Now, one can agree, disagree with that demand, but the fact remains that even if one does not have full statehood for Delhi, it cannot be the case that an unelected person like a Lieutenant Governor will have more power over things in Delhi than an elected government, and elected with a massive mandate by the people of Delhi.
When we talk about the post of Lieutenant Governor itself, I mean, there has to be an intervention which has to be made by the President itself and the judiciary, which in times of such constitutional crisis. So, why do you think these two are not making any intervention in the politics of Delhi?
The fact of the matter is that the Lieutenant Governor is not merely an individual acting in his own right. He is ultimately a person appointed by the centre, and to that extent is presumed to be in line with what the centre dictates. In this case, it is of course factually true that this particular Lieutenant Governor was appointed by the earlier government, but it is also quite evident now that he is very comfortable with the current dispensation in New Delhi, and they are very comfortable with him. The AAP government keeps making the insinuation that the Lieutenant Governor is acting at the behest of the centre, at the behest of the Prime Minister, and it is very difficult to disagree with that.
But people have been raising fingers on the AAP government also, that it has been a chance for them to not only raise questions on the centre government, but also to hide their own incapabilities, or also to center around all the issues on the full statehood matter.
It's very much the case. I mean, it is quite clear that AAP is using every possible opportunity to highlight its key demand of statehood for Delhi. it wants to drive home the point that under the current constitutional arrangement, the elected government of Delhi has fairly limited powers, and therefore, despite a massive mandate from the people, it will not be able to deliver on several key promises, because ultimately it is subject to approval by the nominee of the centre. So, yes, there is clearly a large political element here, both from the side of the BJP and from the side of AAP.
What do you think, what impact would it have on the masses? I mean, what would the, since the sentiment which AAP had from side of the people, a massive votes that they gained, what impact did it have?
Well, I think it has an impact at two different levels. At one level, there is definitely a feeling, which has been captured by several polls as well, that the AAP government should be allowed to have a greater say in how Delhi is run than it is currently being allowed to have. On the other hand, there is also the feeling that AAP is over eager to use these opportunities and in some sense divert attention from whether or not it is delivering on the promises it made. There is also, of course, a larger national political framework in which all of this is happening. See, from the BJP's point of view, after the May 2014 Lok Sabha elections, every state election that they have contested, they have either won outright or ultimately ended up in the government. The sole exception to this pattern is Delhi, where they faced a humiliating rout, and AAP had an unprecedented victory, winning 67 out of 70 seats. And there is a very crucial election coming up in Bihar later this year, probably in September or October. So the BJP, I suspect, wants to tell the people of Bihar that, look here, the entire country has been backing us. The only exception was Delhi, and look at what's happened to Delhi because they did not vote for us. You know, they've ended up with a government which is not interested in governing. They are in an activist mode all the time. All they are interested in is raising slogans, getting into conflict with us, but they don't want to actually run the state. So will you make the same mistake of not voting for us? That is the larger context from the BJP's point of view. From the AAP's point of view, a mandate like the one they got in Delhi is all said and done a scary mandate. I mean, if when you win 67 out of 70 seats, you know that the people are expecting an enormous amount out of you. And it's a party which has never governed a state before, except for the 49 days government in, the beginning of 2014. And it has been facing a lot of internecine factional fights. It now has some of its MLAs being exposed for fake degrees and things like that. So it would prefer to keep the public focus on larger issues like the statehood for Delhi rather than on its own performance.
Thank you, Shankar, for giving us your time. We'll be coming back to you on such issues as the things proceed. Thank you for watching Newsclick.